And welcome back, everybody. It's your boy Luke hosting this week on the Marvelite podcast. And with me, I am joined with these regular shills. I have Mikey.
What a dooski, y'all. Glad to be back here.
And I got William.
Why we gotta be fucking shills, dog?
Bunch of Marvel shills.
People call us that now, amongst other racial slurs.
And we got Nicholas.
What up?
So Disney apparently was in talks with Fox. Not for rights, but Disney was wanting to basically monopolize Fox and sort of suck them into their corporate sphere.
Join the void.
Join the void that is family entertainment.
Oh my god, so I kind of want to talk about like what the implications of that would have been if that were to go through. Apparently talks, I think it was according to a CNBC report, talks have officially stopped, at least for now.
No, forever.
But both companies, I don't know if it's forever, but both companies might be open in the future to discuss further what that could possibly mean. Because as we know, I think as of recently anyways, Fox is looking to sort of downsize their company, especially their film department, and just focus more on streamlining the whole process. And I think that merging with a company like Disney, it could be a good thing, but then again, it also scares me because it's like the internet is really mixed, and a lot of people bring up some really good points on what that could mean for these like individual franchises. My personal opinion is, if Disney were to do that, I still wouldn't expect the X-Men to show up anytime soon in a Marvel film.
Yeah, just to kind of get that out of the way, I don't think they would. Honestly, that wasn't the first thing I thought of when I heard they were in talks. That my concern was more like business related as to how that would work for other films, like not even concerning the Marvel stuff. But
yeah,
it's not like Disney hasn't made R-rated films ever. They're just in their subdivisions. Is kind
exactly
of the other real big thing. So people are like, oh no, we'll have to, like Ryan Reynolds even make a joke about it. He's like, oh no, what are we gonna do for Deadpool if we can't freaking swear?
You know, honestly, like, here's what I would see happening. I think that instead of Marvel Studios merging the two franchises together into the same continuity, I just think that they would reboot the X-Men altogether in its own timeline and have that be the birth of a new Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so, like, you would recast all the X-Men. Eventually, you would recast all the Avengers. They would bring in the Fantastic Four, and Humans would get completely rebooted. And so, like, you would have eventually this big narrative, this big cohesive universe. It just wouldn't be the current timeline, like with Avengers Infinity War and all that. It would be completely separate with all new cast members and all new continuity. That's how I would see it happening.
I wouldn't even see that. Go ahead, Mike.
That's actually a pretty interesting point. Have, like, the main MCU films be like the 616 or whatever it is, and then these new, I guess, Fox with the Inhumans, and you can throw in fucking Fantastic Four and the X-Men be like the 1610 universe. That'd be pretty cool. And then eventually, like, maybe start later in Phase 4, maybe Phase 5, to have like some sort of collab event or some shit.
A Secret Wars event where, like, the universes are sort of, collapsing, and then, you'd have to, like, merge. And so, like, you could get some of these newer actors, that are playing some of these newer characters like Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, maybe they could, kind of shift into this new continuity.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I saw how Disney would probably end up doing it, if they did follow through with, like, purchasing Fox and having the films and everything, I think that, I still think they would keep them separate, but they would do a little bit of what Luke said and just kind of scrap the universe that they have now, except for the things that work. So they probably preserve, like, Deadpool and, like, X-23 and Logan and maybe a couple other, like, actors, maybe. But I think they just start pretty fresh. Like, things that are kind of on their own, like Deadpool or Logan, would be fine. And the old universe would be its own thing, but they'd kind of start over. They'd scrap their, like, production teams. They'd scrap their presidents. I think they would just be like, we need someone who will make us some money. And it's not that the Fox movies don't make money, but they're like, we want money and we want good reception, so we need someone who can do both. But it wouldn't be Feige. I think they would do somebody else. They would have their own independent, like, Fox X-Men president to handle all of that. And maybe consider something that, like, they would have plans if they wanted to cross over, but I don't think it would ever be, like, first priority. I think their first priority will be fixing the image of those characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Disney would just completely just be like, no more X-Men stuff, or at least the X-Men movies that are already in post, just go ahead and finish them out and release them.
Dude, what happens to like
But-
Gifted and like New Mutants and all that?
Those
think
go
they would-
straight to Netflix or something.
I
and
think
never
they'd be their
get
own
talked
thing
about.
still.
New Mutants would get obviously released because it's in post.
Yeah.
Or Deadpool
but in
2's
terms of
in
like
post.
yeah, Deadpool 2's
Dark
in post
Phoenix.
as well.
And Dark Phoenix is in post too, I think.
That's what I'm saying. So all of those would get released initially, like a theatrical release, but they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be merged with the MCU. They would still be their own thing. And two, anything that's currently not in principal photography would probably just get thrown out
Right.
altogether.
Wait.
Except maybe X-Force. I think
They
would
could
still do
easily,
that
like-
because Deadpool.
They could easily like merge the Gifted over in like the Shield Marvel TV world though. Like that's pretty natural, I think. Like the transition.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
You might have to explain mutants.
You would have to explain mutants, and then they would be forced to do this weird fucky thing with like Inhumans, and so they would have to be like, well, basically mutants are just Inhumans, and Inhumans are mutants, and they're
But
kind
it
of
looks
the same
like
thing.
it could live in the same world though, like the production and all that.
You know that they would
Yeah.
do something really fucking weird, like like
Want to go to Hawaii, Professor X?
The Terrigenesis actually like mutated people, so instead of like it killing people, like Terrigenesis is now evolved. Instead of killing regular humans, it turns their genetics into like mutations.
Dude, it's
and-
evolved.
It's like that's so gross to me. I don't even want to think about it, but they would do something really shady like that.
Yeah.
So I just know. But I don't know. I don't think that, they were in talks. I don't think they're currently in talks. It's probably not going to happen.
Nah.
Remember when WB tried to buy Fox and Fox tried to buy Sony?
Oh my
I
God.
do. Well, the Fox trying to buy Sony was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think we're like when two evils collide.
Dude,
You guys remember
what if
when-
Fox bought Sony, then Disney bought Fox, so they would have everything back?
Disney, the true god emperor of film universe.
Power moves.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a power move. Is if they let if like they waited for Fox. That might be what they're doing, waiting for Sony to collapse. Fox has to buy them. Then Disney fucking power moves and just says $6 billion up front.